My 17M girlfriend, 17F, was raped and says she may be pregnant. Hi. I'm confused on what to do and would really appreciate some help. I'm also on mobile, so I apologize in advance for the formatting. My girlfriend and I started dating 2 years ago, but we've known each other since we were 13. She didn't have the best life growing up, which was just a roller coaster of terrible. She was brought up in a pretty abusive home where it was normal to get into a fight with anyone in the family. It got worse when one of her 2 brothers committed suicide when she was 14. This really affected her and caused her to fall down into depression that only got worse as the years went on. A few months later, she lost her best friend to heart problems and another to a car crash. Once we entered high school, her mood and happiness took a huge plummet, and while she would appear happy and playful at school, she was miserable. Not only that, but her grades started failing, and she began to become bitter to everyone, including me. I tried to be there for her as much as I can, assuring her that I was going to be there for her, and while this definitely helped, it didn't nullify the pain she was going through. It was also during this time that she cheated on me emotionally, and when I found out, we had a messy argument. Ever since, I've been weary about her doing it again, even though we worked it out and nothing like that happened since. Fast forward to a few months ago, and she tries to commit suicide by overdosing. She was put in the hospital where they put her under suicide watch. She texted me and told me that she regrets trying it and she told me she wouldn't do it again. I think it's also important to mention that we aren't able to have physical contact at all. She started getting homeschooled after COVID, so the only interaction we have is through text. So whenever these instances happen, I feel like I can't be there for her as much as I could. Soon, her father passes away, and she starts talking about suicide again. I do my best to tell her why she shouldn't, but I don't know how much those words matter to her. She lost so much. This was about 2 months ago. She started drinking afterwards, and after she told me, she said she'd stop, and wouldn't do that again either. At this point she is living with her mom, her brother, and her brother's friend who comes over every now and then. She would make stories on her Snapchat expressing how much she enjoys them, and from her posts and the way she texted me, I can tell that she was happier. But about 2 weeks ago, while I was at work, she sent a text telling me that her brother's friend raped her. She said that when he was over one night, he stayed over longer than he usually does, he got her drunk, and he took advantage of her. When she told me, I didn't know what to think. I've been stressed out by our relationship because of everything that has happened, but this is the last thing needed to hear. I had a breakdown and been crying since. I've been supportive of her and reassures her that it wasn't her fault. She tells me she feels disgusting and feels like it is. As of the day of making this post, she texts me and tells me that she may be pregnant because of it. Her period is late and she says that she's been feeling nauseous and sick ever since. This is where my problem lies right now. I don't know what I'll do if she is pregnant. I don't have the resources or the knowledge to raise a baby, and I am not even sure if it counts as my responsibility as well. Even if she's not, how do I deal going about this? I have no knowledge on how things played out besides what she told me. I don't know what to think anymore. I don't want to make the wrong move or say the wrong thing, but at the same time, I really don't know how much more of this I can take. I could really use some outwards perspective. Edit. I should have mentioned this earlier, but she told me that she called the police afterwards and that he was arrested already. Edit 2. Thank you guys for the advice, really. This is my first time posting here and I wasn't expecting much. At this point, I think I know what I'm going to do, and thanks to you guys, my headspace is pretty clear. I'll post an update later. This girl needs therapy. You can be there for her, but you're so young and don't possess the skills that she needs from a professional. You could notify your school counselor of some issues, and they can help her get started trying to get her life back. You both sound like you've had a lot to struggle through, and you need someone from the outside to help you get through this. There's no formula to finding the right thing to do. Human lives are complex. I trusted my therapists to help me through tough times. It wouldn't hurt to talk to the counselor yourself as well. No shame in it. You're 17 years old, man. You're not equipped to be dealing with this, and it isn't your responsibility. Encourage her to get therapy, talk to a school counselor, call a social worker, but break off this relationship. You can't save her and you're only going to hurt yourself. You've got too much life ahead of you to be dealing with this kind of thing. You're really not equipped to deal with this, man. She needs to get tested for STDs and to see if she's pregnant, and she needs therapy. And I'm sorry, But if she is pregnant and decides to keep the child, it is not your responsibility to be that kid's father. You're only 17. Please think this through before making choices that you'll regret in the future. You cannot help her. You are 17, not a professional. These issues go way beyond just texting things to her. She needs a lot of help. If she was actually raped, she needs to file a police report and press charges against him. That is what you should advise her to do. Your relationship needs to end. You have a long life ahead of you and need to focus on setting your own goals and working towards them. Being caught up in an emotional text-only relationship is just unnecessary drama. I think it's time to tell her that the two of you need to focus on your own lives and cut things off. Breaking up is not easy, but sometimes it can be a relief as well. Do the right thing for yourself and your future. If you or someone you know is contemplating suicide, please reach out. You can find help at a national suicide prevention lifeline. USA. 18,2,738,255 U.S. Crisis Text Line, 741,741 Text Home. United Kingdom. 116,123. Trans Lifeline, 877-565-8860. Others. Babe, that child, if she's pregnant, won't be your responsibility. I also don't think the relationship is good for you or her. You're both young and I would recommend you preserve your own mental health and peace of mind first and foremost. You aren't her mom or her psychologist, so you aren't obligated to stress and ruin your own mental health to save hers. Her situation is definitely bad, but think about your priorities. Also, have you talked to your parents or another sage adult about this? This stuff is heavy and I doubt you'll come to a comprehensive conclusion or be able to weigh all viable options for you, not her, on your own. I don't have the resources or the knowledge to raise a baby. You're not supposed to. You're 17, and this is way above your pay grade. And I am not even sure if it counts as my responsibility as well. In no way whatsoever is this your responsibility. You didn't get her pregnant. It's admirable that you want to be supportive, but seriously, this isn't really something that you can help with beyond just being a sympathetic ear to listen and be, emotionally, not financially, supportive. If that's even something you want to do here. And it's 100% okay if this is too much for you and you don't feel like you can handle it all. I hate to be like this, but why is her brother's friend able to visit despite COVID but you're not? This sounds a bit suspicious. Was my friend, 33F, behaving inappropriately towards my wife, 30F, and if so how much? I have a friend with whom I have been playing D&D with for about 4 years. She has been generally consistent and good at playing, supporting the game and very nice and polite to everyone, from my perspective. She hasn't been super close to me or others, i.e. not helping us move or anything, but generally a decent gaming friend. Call her Amanda. She's about 33 years old I think. My wife has a few beefs with her though. The first time my wife met her, she says Amanda stared intently at her chest for a long time. I didn't notice this but I trust the wife. I said that sounds a little odd. About a couple years later, at a wedding after this friend had had some wine, and all of us game friends were at the same dinner table, she started talking about how she went to a bondage kink convention and enjoyed being tied to a pole and spanked. Nobody reacted much to this speech and I changed the subject. Later my wife said she found this very creepy and uncomfortable. I said I didn't really care about it much because it wasn't directed towards anyone in particular. A few months after that, separately, after one game, Amanda and her boyfriend were giving me a ride home from the venue. Wife is always invited but does not attend the games, so wife also was not present here. Towards the end of this game, Amanda had been chatting with another player, who since left the group, about some sexual kink stuff. I don't remember the details. However, I did say to her, I like hanging out and chatting, but I am not comfortable talking about sex, kink stuff with the game friends. She said okay and never did so with me again, which I appreciate. About 2 years after that, recently, Amanda was hosting a party. The party involved some wine. At some point Amanda, who has a loud voice, said to the general group, my boyfriend and I have an open relationship, I'd be down to have sex with a woman. I said this to no one in particular. Then afterwards, while I was talking with another friend about TV shows, some point my wife, Amanda, and 2 other women were touring their house and somehow were in Amanda's room. I wasn't there so I don't know how the conversation went. My wife says that Amanda picked up a photo album that involved pictures of herself, Amanda, in underwear, posing, and showed it to the group, then held it up to wife's face in particular. She flipped through some of these photos and then said, "Can't flip past this page, it shows too much, haha." Or something to that effect. Wife said she did not react because she did not know how to react. Later we went home and wife said she found this very uncomfortable. I said to wife, "Just tell her you do not feel comfortable being shown this stuff and she will respect that. Because, describe the thing above where I told her to stop the kink stuff and she did." Wife said she can't because that would make everything too awkward. I also offered to tell her to not do that myself, which wife also said would ruin everything. Too long did not read. Friend made occasional, vague, undirected sexual comments in party settings that made wife uncomfortable. What should be done? So, what do you think? Feel free to give advice on what I should do also. I get both sides. It'd be awkward as hell if I were in your wife's shoes, but at the same time you have seen Amanda respect boundaries you have set, so you know she's at least receptive to being discreet. Maybe phrase it to your wife that Amanda is incredibly dense and unable to read the room when she talks about these hobbies, and you had to speak directly to her to make her aware you didn't want to engage in this type of conversation. Again, offer to at least help your wife write out a text or role-play a conversation, but ultimately it'll be up to your wife to speak up if she doesn't want you getting involved. Amanda is inappropriate, because she clearly would be more comfortable in a friend group where people are more open and nonchalant about sex and sexuality, and your gaming group isn't like this. There is nothing wrong with her preferences, but staring at people's body parts when they don't welcome it is wrong. Pushing sex-themed conversations at weddings, car rides and parties where nobody else is into that, is wrong. Borderline force people to look at photos of her in underwear or naked, is wrong. She needs to understand this isn't her crowd and respect everyone's boundaries. As someone in the kink community, Amanda should absolutely be getting consent to talk about these things. She sounds like someone that would get banned from real BDSM communities because it is huge on obtaining consent from the get-go. This is your friend, and in my opinion it's your responsibility to ask Amanda to keep the sex, kink talk to herself when you and your wife are present. Let's reverse the situation. Your wife has a male friend who looked at your crotch the day you met. Another time talks to you about 3 ways in open relationships 2 more times, even showing you pics of him in his underwear. You cool with that? Amanda isn't the villain for her likes, but it's ridiculous that every time she drinks she becomes inappropriate and your wife ends up uncomfortable. I think 3 instances of bad behavior in 5 years is too much. Sounds like Amanda is just the type of person who doesn't have a lot of boundaries when it comes to talking about sex and those type of things publicly. Apart from the chest staring, I don't see anything she has done specifically to your wife. If your wife is not comfortable, I believe hanging out with Amanda is optional. No? I don't think Amanda's particularly aiming these things at your wife. But she is going too far. There's nothing wrong with Amanda's boundaries, but she should check in with people before opening up about these subjects. But honestly, it's your wife's own refusal to speak up that's going to ruin things. Please talk to her again about speaking up for herself, or letting you defend her. If she still refuses, a general conversation with Amanda is in order. Point out to her that society, in general, isn't as open about some things as she is, and it'd be a kindness to check with people before bringing certain subjects up. ETA. I hope you can pass that persuasion check. If a guy did that, he would be kinda rapey. Your wife is uncomfortable around her. Maybe do not include her in the get-togethers. Does she enjoy the other aspects of these get-togethers? My 22 girlfriend, 19, crossed the line and I don't know what to do. We've been together for 6 months, we have a good relationship, she's loving, caring, super smart. Everything I could ask for. The problem is that lately she's been invalidating my emotions, feelings, and it's a weird thing cause she's been through emotional abusive relationships. Hence she should be the first to know that invalidating someone's feelings is horrible. Well, yesterday I wanted to have a conversation about how it makes me feel when she acts hostile towards me for no reason, or when she calls me sensitive and victim for communicating my feelings. She then entered the, "Okay, tell me what bothers you and be quick cause I don't have time to argue with you. I'm too lazy to text RN" mood. Then I told her, once again, that I only want her to stop invalidating how I feel, and if she could actually listen to what I'm saying. She kept telling me that she wasn't invalidating my feelings, but she thinks I'm just oversensitive and should stop taking her rude comments like insults. Then told me that I should know she's like that when she communicates via WhatsApp, so I told her to call me and talk. She agreed. And this is when she did something I'd have never expected. While she was talking I could clearly see she was just not interested in solving anything, so I said, "You don't really care about this, do you?" And her response was, "I actually don't give a fuck about it." Laughs. I hung up the telephone and went to sleep cause I was very shocked. How can she act like that, WTF? She then started texting that she loves me and she doesn't know why she said that. I haven't texted her yet. How should I handle this situation? Too long did not read. Girlfriend said that she doesn't give a fuck about my emotions, feelings. Edit. Hello. I've been reading your comments and you are right. She also suffered emotional abuse from her parents when she was young, and her mom still fucks with her head. Also, she is very emotional, unstable and very negative, and suffers from anxiety. She now texted me that she didn't mean what she said, that she was just joking cause she didn't see the situation as something important. From her perspective, it's just me complaining about stupid stuff. She's coming to my house to talk tonight. Run. Run the fuck away, as fast and as soon as possible. She is manipulating you and attempting to gaslight you from what I've gathered, plus invalidating how you feel. That is not a safe place for you to be in. They say it's around the 6-month mark that person starts to slowly reveal their true self. Sadly, this seems to be her true self. And she knows it hurts you and genuinely doesn't care and doesn't want to do anything to help stop hurting, invalidating you. If she's not willing to work on it and sees nothing wrong with it, then I'm afraid it will only get worse if you stick around. And her response was, "I actually don't give a fuck about it." Laughs. There is no way past this. I haven't texted her yet. How should I handle this situation? By breaking up with her. Maybe it's time to move on. Isn't that the consequence of crossing the line? Why would you want to date a person like this? Respect yourself enough to find a partner that isn't garbage. I'd rethink the relationship. It sounds like she doesn't care about you at all, she just wants a boyfriend. Dude, you've only been with her 6 months and she's already acting like that during the honeymoon phase? Leave her. You're just going to suffer from her emotional abuse. Really sad when the abused, her, becomes the abuser. She's mimicking the behavior she's used to in relationships because she doesn't know anything else. She needs therapy, but only of her own volition. It sounds like this isn't working out right now. My husband cheated on me. My husband and I got married relatively young, with him being 27 and me 22, that was 4 years ago now. A few days ago I received some news that has turned my life upside down. I can't ask anyone in my immediate circle of family or friends for advice because bias is unavoidable, so I'll let strangers sort my problems out for me. My husband kept on getting messages and phone calls last week. He'd always excuse himself when his phone would ring, and he'd talk on the phone in the same voice you'd use for a baby, hidden away in the bathroom or the balcony of our home. He finally came clean a few days ago and told me that him, along with some of his also married friends, had all taken turns fucking a much younger girl almost a year ago when they had taken a business trip. He told me he'd hidden his wedding ring at first, but then the girl found pictures of me on his phone and asked him about it, to which he'd made up some excuses about how his marriage was falling apart and he'd divorce me and come back to be with her. Obviously that didn't happen at the time, but now a divorce is inevitable. She somehow got his number and keeps on calling him, asking when he's going to divorce me. I'm shattered, honestly, because when he'd taken that business trip I was all alone, maybe 24, pregnant with his first child. I'd just quit a job that I spent years working towards. I was taking care of my sick mother after having lost my father to COVID. I'm horrified as to how he could do this to me, and though he keeps telling me he loves me I honestly can't believe it anymore. My question is, how do I move on? What do I tell my son, who's already started behaving coldly with the man he saw as a superhero until a week ago? I haven't said anything to my son, but I guess he must have seen me cry, because now he's insisting that his daddy is a bad person and doesn't want anything to do with him these days. I'm going to file for divorce soon. I've got friends who are lawyers and I honestly don't want the house or alimony, only full custody of my son. I have no qualms about leaving the man I gave my everything to. But I honestly don't know how I'm going to deal with the aftermath. I'm so sorry. What a disgusting situation and betrayal from a group of married men. Focus on your hurt and anger, it will help you get through this without turning back. You are strong enough to be a mom, so I have no doubt you're strong enough to handle this. So, your husband and his friends took turns having sex with a woman, so EU, all around. But she somehow elicited a promise from him to leave you and be with her? He thought this woman was worth blowing up his life? Have you told the other wives about their cheating husbands? I get that he cheated and the relationship is over. I do not get his motivation to leave or want to leave. None of this makes sense, even down to you wanting to walk away from your home. You just will. Honestly, it will probably suck at first, but give it some time and your life will fall back into a better place as long as you strive for that. Focus on your son and things will work out. You should try to get all you can out of the divorce. You deserve it because he blew up your life. It is just stuff and money, but stuff and money can help make your post-divorce life a little less stressful. Plus, this is the house that your son knows, and helping him through this is what matters most. You are in a shitty situation and it sucks, but many have done it before and come out okay. You can too. Good luck. Get a lawyer who is a nitpicking asshole or bitch so you can get more than what you and the kids deserve. Get some counseling for you and your son. Make sure that piece of shit you married pays for everything. Also try to speak to your former employer and get your job back. Best of luck, doll. Every day on Reddit I find reasons not to get married. Tears of joy. I am so sorry that happened to you though. It's very selfish. Cheating is forever wrong, but sometimes the timing of having affairs is what makes the situation even wrong. Like he basically started something while you were alone and pregnant. That's double disrespectful. Honestly, with children involved, all advice you do right by that kid. Would you really want your kid to interpret love like that? Because at the end of the day our environment plays a lot into how we interpret the world. Again, I am really sorry for what happened to you, but put your son first. You'll feel lost at first, but use your supports. You're stronger than you know and you can do this. Use your hurt and anger to fuel you forward for now. Focus on the divorce and getting full custody. Get proof if you can of his infidelity. Kids are very perceptive. He doesn't fully understand what happens, only that daddy hurt mommy. TBH. Seeing my mom cry after my father screamed at her, that's what set me against him forever. I will never forget that. All you can do is tell your son the truth when the time comes. Please don't lie to him and don't let him be in the middle of this divorce. You got this, mama.